one more group is now entering here inside this very periphery from where the Shaurya Yatra will begin, and they are also very much excited to take part in this Shaurya Yatra, and this shows the kind of faith, the resilience and the message of unity they want to take forward via our cultural civilization. You can see now another group which has come from there, and this group is also going to take part in these celebrations. The Shaurya Yatra is all set to begin in few minutes from now, as Narendra will also be participating in this Shaurya Yatra.
All right, Piyush, do stay with us. So those are the visuals from Gir Somnath ahead of the mega Shaurya Yatra, which will be led by the Prime Minister himself. It's day 2 of the celebrations. It's day 2 of Prime Minister Modi celebrating the Somnath Swabhiman Parv in Somnath. And let's take a look at the significance of this mega Shaurya Yatra that will be led by Prime Minister Modi himself. Now, it's a symbolic procession of 108 horses, and it is to honor the warriors who defended Somnath temple. Remember, the devotees, the Brahmin priests, were the ones who fought the battle against the invaders when they tried to capture the temple. This yatra is to reflect the warriors' valor and the sacrifices that have been made by them in the past. It is also a key highlight of the Somnath Swabhiman Parv. So this is something that everyone is looking forward to. It's the key highlight of this Somnath Swabhiman Parv, which is being held. Remember, it began on 8th of January and it is ongoing, and this remains the key highlight of this celebration. It also marks India's enduring civilization and culture, and it is being held after 1,000 years of first reported targeting and attack on the Somnath temple. And Brijesh Doshi and Piyush Mishra continue to stay with us, getting us the updates from Gir Somnath. Brijesh, help us understand about the scale of devotees that have gathered in Gir Somnath to take part in these mega celebrations.
The Somnath Swabhiman Parv was started on 8th January after the PM wrote a detailed article about the invasion on the invaders who have attacked on the Somnath and the 1,000 years completion of that attack. Also, there is another occasion on the side that the first Deputy Prime Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel has also seen the dream of the redevelopment of the Somnath temple, which is completing 75 years. So these are the two occasions which is the Somnath Swabhiman Parv is celebrating for these two reasons. Right now we are at the route of the Shaurya Yatra, where PM will take part in the Shaurya Yatra, and the people are coming in the large numbers. If we can see, we can see that how the children, all people are coming in a huge numbers here. This is the route of the Somnath temple. This route will end at the Somnath temple complex, and where PM will do the Vishesh Puja and Darshan after completing the Shaurya Yatra. So this is the around 950 meter stretch where the Shaurya Yatra will be going on. This is the, as it is saying that this is a symbolic gesture of this Yatra, which is showcasing the fighters who fought against these invaders 1,000 years ago, including Hamirji Gohil, who fought against them and died on this fight. So that's why it is showcasing. We can see that different 20 stages have been made of the different states where people are taking part. We have some girls here. आप लोग यहीं से हैं या बाहर से आए?
यहीं सोमनाथ से।
पीएम आज आएंगे, पीएम को देखने के लिए आए हैं, कैसा लग रहा है? शौर्य स्वाभिमान, सोमनाथ के स्वाभिमान की बात हो रही है।
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है यहाँ पर सब देखने के लिए।
आप भी यहीं से हैं, बच्चों को लेके आए हैं, सोमनाथ स्वाभिमान पर्व मनाया जा रहा है, कितना उत्साह है लोगों में यहाँ पे?
बहुत सारा कि इतने पहले तो हमारे भिड़िया में और मोदी जी और ये उत्साह हमें भाग्यशाली है कि हमें ऐसा मौका देखने का मिला.
So see, the people, the local people have come here in a large number.
Right.
B-boys, girls, and the people have come across. There will be a huge gathering as well, where PM will address the Shaurya Sabha around 11 a.m. where
All
he will
right.
talk about the history of Somnath as well as how the.
All right,
Yes,
Brijesh. So devotees from across the nation have gathered to witness these mega celebrations which are being held in Gir Somnath, marking the 1,000 years of resilience of the Somnath temple. Let us take a look at the Somnath temple, which also has the first Jyotirling out of the 12 Jyotirlings. Now, Jyoti is light and Ling is form of Shiv. Jyotirling represents Shiva's divine light. Remember, there are 12 Jyotirlings, and out of which Somnath is considered to be the first of those 12 Jyotirlings. Now, Jyotirling is believed to be self-manifested, which is also known as Swayambhu. Now, this is self-born, self-manifested. It is not man-made. Now, there are 12 Jyotirlings that have been named in ancient texts, and scriptures call Somnath as the first Jyotirling out of those 12 Jyotirlings. Somnath predates others in the ancient texts, and this Jyotirling being the first of the 12 Jyotirlings. Now, what is the difference between a Jyotirling and a Shivling? Shivling is something that is man-made. Shivlings are man-made. It has been created by man to worship Lord Shiv. Whereas if we talk about Jyotirlings, Jyotirlings are self-manifested. They are self-born. It is not created by, it is not man-made or created by humans. And my colleague Brijesh Doshi and Piyush Mishra continue to stay with us. Piyush, we're learning that a special puja will be held after the Mega Shaurya Yatra. Give us more details on that. All right, Piyush continues to stay with us. Piyush, if you could hear us. All right, we'll try to re-establish that connection with Piyush, who's on the ground in Gir Somnath, witnessing the celebrations, getting us all the latest updates from the ground, the action that is taking place just ahead of the Mega Shaurya Yatra, which will be led by Prime Minister Modi himself. Today is day 2 of Prime Minister Modi's Somnath visit. Yesterday also he took part in the celebrations. He took part in the Omkar chanting, and he also witnessed the drone show at the Somnath temple. Today he will be leading the Mega Shaurya Yatra, and after which there will be a special puja which will be done by the Prime Minister at the Somnath temple, after which he will also be addressing the devotees. And Piyush Mishra continues to stay with us. Piyush, we're learning that after the Mega Shaurya Yatra there will be a special puja which will be done by Prime Minister Modi. Give us more details on that.
Well, that's right, Anjali. What you're told is that PM Narendra Modi is going to do a special puja after the Shaurya Yatra, which will commence by around 10:30 a.m. Prime Minister is likely to reach here at around 9:45 a.m. from where right now we are reporting, and that is the main point from where the Shaurya Yatra will begin. And this Shaurya Yatra will go towards the Somnath temple. My video journalist Manish can show you the pictures as to how the preparations are already underway here. The thousands of Shiva devotees have already come here to welcome PM Narendra Modi, and the moment Prime Minister arrives here, they all will also move towards this very route which goes towards Somnath temple. So after reaching Somnath temple, Prime Minister, after completing the Shaurya Yatra, he will, be taking part in a special puja which will be about which will be focusing on the valiant sacrifice, and also the point of giving respects to people who have laid down their lives to ensure the protection of the land of Somnath. So before that special puja, the special arrangements have already been made here by the locals here. You can also see as to how there are various people of Somnath. They have the flower petals in their hand, and the moment Prime Minister will arrive here, they are going to shower that flower petal on PM Narendra Modi. So to welcome Prime Minister, all arrangements have been made here. After this Shaurya Yatra culminates, the special puja will be performed by PM Narendra Modi at Somnath temple, and after that special puja, PM Narendra Modi will also be addressing the gathering here in Somnath itself. So multiple programs have been designed to make this Parv, Somnath Swabhiman Parv, a successful Parv, and for that various cultural programs are already underway. You would remember that yesterday 72-hour long Omkar chant was also done, which began on 8th of January, and it went on till 72 hours. And after the Omkar chants, today we are now seeing Shaurya Yatra, which is all set to begin from this very juncture. And here Shiva devotees in large numbers have already gathered here, holding tamroos in their hand, giving out the message of the unity, faith, vigilance, which Somnath is also known for sending out across the country.
Absolutely, Piyush. Thank you so much for joining us with all those updates from the ground in Gir Somnath. And in just a while from now, Prime Minister Modi will be leading the mega Shaurya Yatra. From ancient legends to modern India, Somnath has witnessed the march of time. Repeatedly targeted, yet never erased, the temple remains a powerful symbol of faith, resilience and civilizational continuity. With that, it's a wrap on this bulletin, but our special coverage on Somnath Swabhiman Parv continues on the other side with my colleague Gaurav Sawant. Stay with us.
You are watching India Today.
Slim like a whisper, sharp in the hand, never unplanned.
Motorola Edge 70, impossibly thin.
The world's most powerful double-engine coverage, where access meets expertise. Davos Brainstorm, 19th to 23rd January, only on India Today and Business Today.
Slim like a whisper, sharp in the hand, never unplanned.
Motorola Edge 70, impossibly thin.
mantra jap at the Somnath temple, and India Today special broadcast, a broadcast that talks about Bharat's resilience and Bharat's resurgence. Saurashtre Somanatham cha Shri Shaile Mallikarjunam Ujjainiyam Mahakalam Omkaram Malleshwaram. Now this is the opening verse of the Dwadash Jyotirling Sotram, and it places the Somnath in Gujarat as the first of the 12 sacred Jyotirlings in Bharatvarsh. It signifies the pride of place that Somnath temple enjoys in India's spiritual heritage. This also reflects the civilizational belief that Somnath is at the very foundation of Bharat's spiritual heritage and geography. So where is Somnath? Somnath's located at Prabhas Patan. This is near Veerawal in Gujarat. Somnath is not merely a temple in Bharat. It's a place of worship, yes, but it's a living symbol of India's civilizational continuity and that never say die spirit. It's 1,000 years of the attacks on Somnath. The nation is commemorating that because you learn from history to ensure that history does not repeat itself. The history of Somnath is the history of Indian resilience and resurgence. The Somnath Swabhiman Parv, it actually commemorates 1,000 years since the first attack by Mahmud of Ghazni on Somnath in January this month. January in 1026, that was 1,000 years ago. The Parv today celebrates that enduring spirit of the Sanatan Dharma, of the Sanatan civilization, that rich cultural and spiritual heritage of Bharatvarsh. And moments from now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's already in Saurashtra, yesterday, as you see in those images, he took part in that 72-hour-long Akhand Omkar mantra jap at the Somnath temple, and that also symbolizes continuity of faith, unity, and Bharat's civilizational strength. The Prime Minister will today lead the Shaurya Yatra. Because how many of us know the braves who made the supreme sacrifice for 1,000 years? For 1,000 years to ensure that we are able to follow our way of life. The Prime Minister will talk about the valor of some of those braves. Because remember, just in the first attack, historians write, 50,000 brave sons and daughters of the soil made the supreme sacrifice of their lives. That was in 1026. Currently, we're in 2026. So there will be a symbolic procession that will be organized to mark the Somnath Swabhiman Parv. The Shaurya Yatra actually represents that unparalleled courage, that valor, that spirit of sacrifice, and that spirit that preserved Somnath through centuries of attacks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will offer prayers at the Somnath temple. He'll address a gathering at the Somnath temple where perhaps he will reflect on the civilizational importance of the Somnath temple, the significance of the Swabhiman Parv, and that enduring message of faith, of resilience, and that self-respect that's associated with the Somnath temple, with the Kashi Vishwanath temple, with the Ayodhya Ram Janmabhoomi, with the Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi in Mathura, and so many other temples that were repeatedly targeted by foreign invaders. The Prime Minister's participation in these events actually underscores the national importance that Somnath Swabhiman Parv enjoys and the reinforcement of that commitment. Because remember, this is something that our ancestors have given to us. The fact that you and I are able to follow our way of life today is because of the supreme sacrifices made by our ancestors, and that's the message that we pass on to future generations, to preserve and to celebrate the Sanatan Dharma, the spiritual and cultural heritage of this land. The Prime Minister's visit also highlights Somnath's role, the temple town, the spirit, as a living and enduring symbol of India's civilizational continuity and collective confidence. We may fall, but we will rise once again and we will endure. Perseverance, now resilience, that is something that Bharatvarsh stands for. Because so many civilizations came and went, we not only exist, we continue to grow, we continue to flourish, we continue to make a mark for ourselves in the world today and inspire others. Somnath symbolizes that faith over fanaticism, creation over destruction, the eternity of the Sanatan civilization, echoing perhaps the message of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and the soul that remains eternal. Nenam chindanti shastrani, nenam dahati pavaka, na chainam kledayanti apo, na shoshati maruta. This was the message of Yogeshwar Shri Krishna to Arjun. The soul is eternal. It can neither be destroyed by weapons, nor can it be burnt by fire. It cannot be destroyed by water, nor can it be blown away or dried by winds and air. That is the soul of Bharatvarsh, eternal, the spirit of Bharatvarsh. Repeatedly targeted by invaders, but our spirit lives on and continues to grow in strength. And as we look at the broadcast, as we look at what's happening on ground, I want you to for a moment reflect on the history of destruction and reconstruction at the Somnath in Gujarat. So it was in 1026, we are in 2026 today, 1026 Common Era, Somnath was invaded, plundered, desecrated and destroyed by Mahmud of Ghazni, who had heard about the riches of this land. Because remember, this wasn't just a temple town. This was a very important port. Now, because it was a port, trade was huge. And the Arab traders who came in, or traders who came in from different parts of the world, they went back with stories of the glory, of the grandeur, of the wealth of Somnath. Accounts of those times chronicle that, lured by the wealth of Somnath, Mahmud of Ghazni, who wanted to create a massive army, he invaded India. Of course, he came through that route, whether it was Multan or Karachi. He attacked Multan, Karachi, all those places, defeated those kings, came down to Gujarat, to Saurashtra, and 50,000 sons and daughters of the soil, they died protecting the Somnath temple. But did we fall? Did we collapse? That was 1026. 1169, historians record, Chalunk King, Solanki King Kumar Pal, he is recorded to have rebuilt the temple. But then such was the wealth that once again there was an invasion. This was in 1299. So Alaf Khan, general of Alauddin Khilji, he invaded and destroyed the Somnath temple. But in 1308, Chudashma King Mahipala Dev, he rebuilt the temple once again. But then more attacks followed. In 1395, it was invaded and attacked by Muzaffar Shah. But then 1413, it was rebuilt. But 1451, again Mahmud Begra of the Gujarat Sultanate, he attacked, destroyed the temple. But once again, temple was rebuilt by the followers of the Sanatan Dharma. That is the spirit that we're talking about. So brick by brick, rock by rock, stone by stone, the temple was rebuilt. But then in 1669, that cruel Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb that many have tried to whitewash over centuries, including now, Aurangzeb attacked. And Aurangzeb wanted not just the destruction of Somnath, he wanted the Sanatan Dharma, places of our worship, of our civilizational worship to be targeted. So whether it was Somnath or Kashi Vishwanath or Mathura, Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi, and that farman is there. Aurangzeb ordered the destruction of all these temples. In fact, he ordered the construction of a mosque. 1706, he ordered a mosque to be made at this site in Somnath. But then 1707, Aurangzeb died. That spirit of Bharatvarsh did not. The brave Marathas who were fighting to take back our land inch by inch, they once again went upon the task of reclaiming our heritage. 1783, Mata Ahilyabai Holkar, Queen Ahilyabai Holkar, she began the task of rebuilding the temple. Of course, she built a smaller temple some distance away. But let me now come to this spirit that has endured from 1026 and 1947, when Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India, when he visited Saurashtra, he'd seen the destruction there. Remember that battle for Junagadh? When he saw what was happening on ground, it was on Deepavali in 1947, November 1947. He made a public proclamation that a grand Somnath temple will be built. The Iron Man of India, fellow freedom fighter and then Food and Agriculture Minister of India, K.M. Munshi, they undertook the task of rebuilding a grand temple, despite the reluctance of some at that point of time. And the BJP today argues that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was one of them who were opposed to this. But that temple was rebuilt. Why? That spirit of resilience, that spirit of resurgence, that self-confidence that we've constantly fought for what we've believed in. And that's the spirit that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is talking about today. Now, there's a lot more that I will tell you about over the course of the next 3 hours, because this is just the beginning. There is a lot in store.
सोमनाथ का ये मंदिर हमारे आत्मविश्वास का एक प्रेरणा स्थल है।
हर हर शिव शंकर नीलकंठ गंगाधर आए शरणम तिहारे।
A lot has been planned for the day today. There was a 72-hour-long Akhand Omkar Jap that took place. Today, there is the remembrance of our braves, the images that you see on your television screen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is already on ground zero. So I want to quickly bring in my colleague Piyush Mishra, who's been on ground zero. And Piyush, you're truly blessed to be in Somnath right now, but bring us details of what's planned for the day and the excitement in the air. Tell us more about what people on ground are talking about the event, the Swabhiman Parv.
Well, there's a lot of excitement among the people, and Gaurav, like you rightly mentioned, about the Veer Gatha of thousands of people who laid down their lives to ensure the protection of Somnath's temple. And that Shaurya is going to be showcased today in Shaurya Yatra, which is all set to begin in a few minutes from now. PM Narendra Modi will be reaching here at this very point from where right now we are reporting. And the special feature of this Shaurya Yatra are these 108 horses. And these horses have also been brought here. And my video journalist Manish is showing you how on all these horses we have people adorning the Bhagwa Rang on their head, and all of them will be the part of this Shaurya Yatra. Apart from that, we also have thousands of Shiv devotees who will be holding damrus in their hand, a shank in their hand, who will be also be the part of this entire Shaurya Yatra. So it's going to be a mega Shaurya Yatra. We also have few people here. We'll try to understand from them about the importance of these horses who are also taking part in this special Shaurya Yatra, which is all set to begin from this very point, which is entry point towards the Somnath temple. आपका नाम बताएं?
मदन मोहन शर्मा।
मदन मोहन जी, यहाँ से शुरुआत हो रही है इस यात्रा की और सोमनाथ मंदिर की तरफ जाएंगे। हम तो देख पा रहे हैं कई सारे घोड़े भी शौर्य यात्रा में हिस्सा ले रहे हैं। इसका क्या महत्व है?
मैं ये चाहता हूँ जी, ये जो हमारी पहचान है घुड़सवार की, वो पुराने समय से आ रही है। शिवाजी पे घोड़े पे थे, राणा प्रताप भी घोड़े पे थे, आज भी हमारे घुड़सवार का दल सेना में होता है। तो ये हमारा पुराना ही पहचान है, घुड़सवार की
पुरानी पहचान है।
हाँ।
इस शौर्य यात्रा का क्या महत्व है?
शौर्य यात्रा यही है कि हमें आज ये याद दिला रहा है कि इतने आक्रमण हमारे ऊपर हुए, इतने अटैक हुए, प्रयास किया हमको मिटाने का, मगर हम आज भी हैं और रहेंगे। हमारा भगवा आज भी है और रहेगा भी। उससे संबंधित 4 पंक्तियां आपको सुना रहा हूँ। गगन में लहरता है भगवा हमारा, गगन में लहरता है भगवा हमारा, ये भगवा है पद्मिनी के जौहर की ज्वाला, मिटाती अमावस लुटाती उजाला, नया एक इतिहास क्या रचने डाला, घिरे जौहरों में मगर कोहरों में, नीले गगन में चमकता रहा पूज्य भगवा हमारा, गगन में लहरता है भगवा हमारा, गगन में लहरता है भगवा हमारा। ये भगवा ध्वज हमारी युगों की पहचान है। ये आज भी है, आगे भी रहेगा और हमेशा अमर रहेगा। ये हमारे प्रण है।
So that's what the message which the people from Somnath are also sending, Gaurav, that Bhagwa Dhwaj was there and it is still there. It will continue to inspire a lot of generations, and the message of the inspiration which was given by thousands of people who laid down their lives for protection of Somnath is also being carried forward to future generations through the Somnath Swabhiman Parv, which is being celebrated in Somnath. As we are speaking, Gaurav, we have already seen thousands of people coming here who are going to take part in this Swabhiman in the Somnath Parv, and Shaurya Yatra is one of the special feature of this this entire event. In this Shaurya Yatra, there will be a road show, Shaurya Yatra, which will begin from the entry point of Somnath entry, and this is the entry point which Manish is also showing us how this entry point has also been completely decked up, decorated using different kinds of garlands, decorative items. This entire route which goes towards the Somnath temple, begins from this point, and there at the Somnath temple we will see PM Narendra Modi holding special prayers at around 10:15. What we were told is that the special prayers will be done, and after these special prayers, Prime Minister is going to address the people of Somnath, and similar sort of stages have been installed at at different parts of this entire area, the entire route which begins from here and goes towards the Somnath temple, and thousands of people have come here of Somnath who are waiting to catch one glimpse of PM Narendra Modi. We also have the women devotees who are standing here. Many of them have flower petals in their hand. You can see as to how they have flower petals in their hand, and they are waiting for Prime Minister to come, and the moment PM will come.
Stay with me, Piyush. This is a message that is being sent out from one generation to another. This is an enduring spirit. This is a story, because remember, in India, history was sent from one generation to the other, passed on from one generation to the other through Shruti and Smriti. Remember, when India was repeatedly attacked by Islamic invaders, and subsequently they would burn down temples which were a place of learning and commerce and economy. They would burn down educational institutions. Remember Takshashila and Nalanda, when Bakhtiyar Khilji, for example, attacked Nalanda, how the library burnt for months and months, as the historians recount. Why? Because they wanted to stop that flow of knowledge. Mas Saraswati, Gyan ki Saraswati, they wanted to stop. But that didn't stop. Why? Because Shruti and Smriti, you would hear it from your elders, Smriti, remember it, and then pass it on to the next generation, which is exactly what is happening even right now. You hear it from your from your past generations, and you pass on the baton to future generations. So on day one of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's spiritual journey to Somnath, he witnessed a special drone show. For those who say that India is going back, or we're becoming, words to the effect, Hindu Pakistan, no, we are not. We are very clear about who we are. And science and technology and mathematics and spirituality, they go hand in hand in our country. For centuries it has, and for centuries it will. So look at the science and technology, and look at those drone shows at the Somnath temple, the Onkar, Akhanda Onkar Jap, and the Swabhiman Parv. Piyush Mishra gets us this report.
From the shores of the Arabian Sea rises a roar of faith. Har Har Mahadev echoes through Somnath as history, spirituality and national pride converge. On day one of his two-day visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives at the sacred Somnath temple to lead the Somnath Swabhiman Parv, marking 1,000 years of resilience, devotion and India's civilizational spirit. The Prime Minister reached Somnath to a rousing welcome, offering prayers at one of Hinduism's holiest shrines. The four-day Somnath Swabhiman Parv, being held from January 8 to 11, commemorates 1,000 years since the temple's invasion in 1026, a symbol of faith that withstood repeated destruction and rose again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the powerful Omkar mantra chanting at the temple, part of 72 hours of continuous Om chants resonating across the sacred complex. The night sky over Somnath lit up with a spectacular drone show, offering a visual tribute to Lord Shiv and the temple's timeless legacy. The celebrations also gain added significance as India approaches 75 years of the temple's post-independence restoration, a revival led by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and inaugurated by Dr. Rajendra Prasad in 1951. From sacred chants to soaring lights, Somnath stands illuminated not just in brilliance but in belief. From ruins to resurgence, from silence to sacred sound, Somnath stands unbroken. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi bows before Lord Shiva, the message echoes far beyond these shores. Faith survives, history bears witness, and India remembers. With Piyush Mishra in Somnath, Bureau Report, India Today.
As the country marks this historic occasion of the Swabhiman Parv that symbolizes resurgence and resilience of the Sanatan Sanskriti of Bharat Varsh, there's also controversy, and at the center of this controversy is former Prime Minister or independent India's first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The Bharatiya Janata Party has hit out at Pandit Nehru and presented letters which Pandit Nehru had written, which the BJP says highlights how Pandit Nehru was inherently against the Somnath temple. In several letters, according to the BJP, Pandit Nehru wrote, for example, that letter to the Secretary General and Foreign Secretary of India, then giving instructions that Indian embassies overseas, Indian missions overseas were explicitly prohibited from providing any assistance to the Somnath Temple Trust, including request for the holy water, for the Pran Pratishtha that was to take place in 1951. So Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru went so far as to write a letter to Liaquat Ali Khan in Pakistan, reassuring Liaquat Ali Khan, dismissing the Somnath Gate narrative as fake and false. The BJP has lashed out at Pandit Nehru, claiming those he chose to comfort in Pakistan by downplaying Hindu historical symbolism, prioritizing external appeasement of Pakistan over internal self-confidence. They ask, why would Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru write to the Indian mission in Pakistan and tell them not to provide water from the Sindhu River for the Pran Pratishtha ceremony that was to take place in May 1951. I'll come to the letters and his conversations with Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Independent India's first president, where he told Rajendra Babu not to go or not to be seen with this event or his discomfort with it, or his conversations with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and with K.M. Munshi. But listen into these reactions.
For more than 1,000 years, the Somnath Mandir was subjected to brutal attacks by barbaric foreign invaders. But unfortunately, even after independence, Nehru, with his prejudiced Hindu-Virodi mindset, virulently opposed the reconstruction of the Somnath temple and the revival of its glorious legacy. Fortunately, in our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, we have a stellar leadership which has ensured Bharat's dharmic revival.
प्राचीन मंदिर है। ये मंदिर कभी लूटे गए थे और फिर आजादी के बाद नए तरीके से ये मंदिर बनाए गए थे। आजादी के बाद तो देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी नहीं रही, उस समय तो नहीं थी, फिर भी जवाहरलाल नेहरू की जमाने में ये सोमनाथ जी की मंदिर निर्माण हुई, नए सिरे से नहीं। फिर भी ये मंदिर बहुत पुराने मंदिर है। हमारे देश में मंदिर में लोग जाते हैं, मस्जिद में लोग जाते हैं, गिरजा में लोग जाते हैं, गुरुद्वारा में लोग जाते हैं। बस इसमें कोई सियासी तरीके से कोई ना जाए, ये हमारा मांग रहेगी।
So BJP MP Dr. Sudhanshu Trivedi has put out certain communications of 1951. For example, this letter of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in 1951 written to then Foreign Secretary and to missions overseas, where the Prime Minister, Pandit Nehru, he said embassies have been asked to collect waters of distant rivers, told President that I do not fancy, and this is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru writing, that he's told President, which is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, that I do not fancy his visiting the Somnath temple. And I made it very clear, I do not like all these activities. He then went on to write that embassies, Indian missions overseas, they must not entertain appeals of collecting holy river waters for the Pran Pratishtha. And this was specifically with reference to water from the Sindhu river. Now remember, this is the Sindhu Ghati Sabhyata, and a part of that river flows through a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror, Pakistan. So our own mission in Pakistan was told not to provide water for the Pran Pratishtha. And this led to a lot of, at that point of time also, both Sardar Patel and Dr. Rajendra Prasad, they were very clear this process will happen, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad made it very clear he's committed to K.M. Munshi and he will go for the Pran Pratishtha ceremony. And Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, when he started this project, he was very clear that this is for the self-confidence of the people of this land. Joining me now on this special broadcast is Vidushi Jaya Bharti. She's a very well-respected Hindu scholar. She joins us on this broadcast. Vidushi Jaya Bharti ji, welcome. Your take on this Swabhiman Parv. How significant is the celebration of the Somnath temple and the Swabhiman Parv today?
It is, the significance lies in itself in the spirit, Gaurav. So, we are talking about a temple which has been destroyed 17 times and has been rebuilt equally, I think, a time more. So, it's a message to those who carry the spirit that, they hold animosity and they hold certain regressive feelings or intentions against Sanatan, that you may destroy my temple, but my faith lies in my spirit, in my consciousness. And consciousness is eternal as the Shiva itself, as the Shambhu itself. And as long as the Chetna lives, we are going to rebuild everything. So it's a message to the generations. So, they destroyed the temple, but my temple is the representation of my faith. It's a seat of my faith, but the origin of my faith is within me, is in my consciousness. And today,
that's a very beautiful line that you've just said, that the temple represents my faith. You may have destroyed my temple, but you cannot destroy my faith. That's the message that goes out. But the Dwadash Jyotirling Stotram that places Somnath as the first of the 12 Jyotirlings. Now, spiritually speaking, what does that signify?
Yes. So, Jyotirling, a lot of people, I'm very happy that you asked that question. A lot of people believe what is a ling, and they kind of relate it to a body part or something. So when the first time the consciousness of Lord or Bhagwan Shiv emerged, it emerged in a form of light, and it had no end or beginning. So it signified and symbolized that the consciousness is eternal, the divinity is eternal, and it does not have a beginning or end, it is infinite. And ling means...
Anadi se Anant tak.
Yeah, and so that is 108. 108 is a number which in itself is infinite and it represents wholeness. So, we may travel from body to body, but we go back to the same consciousness from which we emerge. So, Jyoti, the form of that consciousness is Jyoti. And when you put a symbol to it, so that symbol in Sanskrit in one word has many meanings. So, Ling also means the chin, the symbol. So the symbol that we do in Jyotirling is we connect with that eternal consciousness beyond a structure, beyond a body. So in Sanatan, we do both the Murti Puja, the Kshetra Puja, and also we go with the Nirakar. So when we talk of the Jyotirlings, it is actually connecting to the Nirakar Swarup, the Jyoti Swarup of the Adi Shiva. So that's what Jyotirlings stand for. And Dwadash Jyotirling is the 12th feet where these links were, people had different time, have experienced it, connected with it, and they have been consecrated in those positions. And Somnath Jyotirling is the first and the foremost of those Dwadash Jyotirlings.
Stay with me for a moment. I once again want to bring in my colleague Piyush Mishra, who's joining us from Ground Zero, because on Ground Zero, it's the spirit of Somnath that has to be seen, to be believed. And as we connect, as we bring him in, listen in to the damrus, the sound of the damrus, the chants and the drums on ground. Listen in. And let me cut across and bring in my colleague Piyush Mishra for more on this. So Piyush, the countdown has begun. The horses are all there. Tell us more. The Swabhiman Yatra, the remembrance of Raja Hamir Singh Gohel, for example. How the young sons and daughters of the soil, they made the supreme sacrifice of their lives, but they did not let the plunderers, the attackers and the invaders go unchallenged. Their lives did not matter. And those famous lines, "Jab tak ek bhi Hindu jeevit hai, tab tak Somnath jeevit hai." Tell us more about how that commemoration happens today. Okay, give me a moment as we try and reestablish this link with Piyush. But Vidushi ji, the valor of Raja Hamir Singh, or the many sons and daughters of the soil that's being commemorated, that's the way that message gets carried from one generation to the other, of the sacrifices it took for us to be able to follow our dharma.
It also gives us a fact check of the stark reality that we have both witnessed. We study our history and we find out whether they were Gujars, the Parihars, the Solankis, the Patels, and the Raja you've mentioned. So it has been 1,000 years of attack, brutal attack and destruction of the temple. And everybody in their own possible might have defended it to the best possible ways. And today it is like they were the people who were not ideologically subverged to let the people who want to trample their identity go on. Today we see a lot of people, they come and they attack Sanatan in their own ways, whether they hold seminars, conferences, whether they write books, whether they go into JNU and try and subvert the students. So we see that what our generation today actually stands and what our previous generations have led their lives. I would actually bring in, not connected, but an instance of Shivaji Maharaj. So when the Aurangzeb attacked one of the areas in Pune, he destructed the agriculture fields, and Aurangzeb made his generals hung a shoe and plow it with a donkey, and people were demoralized. And when Jizabai found that Shivaji was in a fold, he made it flow again with a golden hull, the Sone ke hull se they did it. So these things matter, that, if somebody demolishes or comes and attacks you, the first thing, as people, so we talk about our lives, but we live in a country, we have an identity with our nation,
very
with our
important,
faith.
and that's how a general leads. That's how a general leads from the front. Stay with me. You mentioned the prestigious Jawaharlal Nehru Vishwavidyalaya, the Jawaharlal Nehru University. The Vice Chancellor said that's only a minuscule minority there that may pretend or try to show that they're anti-Sanatan, anti-Hindu or anti-national. Majority are firm nationalists even at the Jawaharlal Nehru University. My colleague Piyush has just filed this report, and in a moment Amish Tripathi also joins us. But first, this report by Piyush.
Today it's the second day of a PM visit to Somnath, and our Prime Minister is going to take part in a Shaurya Yatra today ahead of his arrival for Shaurya Yatra. What we are now seeing is the preparation for Dhana underway right here. We can see how the people are seen performing on the news of Gujarat. This is a performance which is being done looking into the Parv, Somnath Swabhiman Parv now going on. You can see how there are people who have come to Gujarat, performing and rejoicing, dancing, celebrating the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. At one side we are seeing this performance. On my right hand side, the Damru and Shank is also sounded here in this place at Somnath, where Narendra Modi was set to arrive. I can ask my critical system to show you the visuals of these students who have come from the different parts of country, and they have come from Sanskrit Mahavidyalaya, and they are now also using Damru, Shankhnad to welcome PM Narendra Modi, and these are the visuals which we can show to our viewers.
ब्रह्मर्षि नडियाद से यहाँ पे बच्चों को लेके यहाँ पे आए हैं।
सभी छात्र नडिया से हैं?
हाँ, अलग अलग विद्यालय से सभी छात्र आए हैं। कुछ नडियाद से आए हैं, कुछ अलग अलग गुजरात की सभी महाविद्यालयों से, संस्कृत महाविद्यालयों से छात्र यहाँ पे आए हुए हैं।
यानी गुजरात के अलग अलग कोनों से छात्र आए हुए हैं?
हाँ, सभी गुजरात के अलग अलग महाविद्यालयों से छात्र यहाँ पे आए हुए हैं।
गुजरात के अलग अलग बड़े संस्कृत महाविद्यालयों से छात्र यहाँ पर आए हैं. That's the message which is being sent out here by the people. And here the Shankhnad is already going on, and this shows the starting of the new era, where the message of is being transferred to the future generation, telling them about the sacrifice, valor, and the cultural heritage which we have had in the last more than 1,000 years.
The Somnath Swabhiman Parv, 1,000 years of India's resilience and resurgence. Joining me now on this India Today special broadcast is well-respected author, commentator, diplomat Amish Tripathi. Amish, welcome. What does the Somnath Swabhiman Parv mean to you, Amish, as a Shiv Bhakt?
I think one of the things that is truly commendable is the civilizational awareness of the Honorable Prime Minister. It was in the winter of end 1025, early 26 that Mahmud Ghazni attacked that region of India, and on Jan 6th he destroyed the Somnathji temple. There have been foreign invasions which got through a bit earlier. The Arabs, for example, got through, defeated King Dahir, but the rebellion against them by the son of King Dahir carried on for decades, and within a century the Arabs had been Indianized to a large extent actually. Their coins had Arabic on one side, Sanskrit on the other side. In fact, many of the Turks killed the Arabs because they thought they'd become infidel-like. But it was the destruction of Somnathji which was a turning point. After that, foreigners ruled India, significant parts of India. First, the Turks, who we erroneously call the Islamic invaders. They weren't Indian Muslims, they were foreigners. They were Turks, what we call the Delhi Sultans and the Timurid Mughals, and then the Europeans. For 1,000 years, foreigners ruled us. Somnathji was perhaps that turning point. It is why there is a legend among many Shaivites that there was 1,000-year prophecy that there will be a decline of India for 1,000 years, and now the revival has begun. Gaurav, the sun rises and sets, and it does that daily, but the moon's rising and setting, from the full moon to the no moon, and no moon to full moon, takes much longer, right? It takes a 1 lunar month. And Somnathji is dedicated to Lord Shiva as the Lord of the Moon, as the Lord of the Moon God. So maybe this is that longer cycle of decline from Purnima to Amavasya, and now we are turning from Amavasya to Purnima once again. This is a revival.
And that sounds so heartening to hear, from the waxing and waning of the moon, and now the revival, the resurgence. But the significance of Somnath, why was Somnath ji repeatedly targeted? This was more than just a temple town, wasn't it? When Mahmud of Ghazni attacked, the stories he'd heard from those Arab traders, tell us those stories, tell us about the splendor and grandeur of Somnath ji.
All our temples were central to our way of life. As Dinah Eck, an American scholar, had said, India was not built on the power of kings. It was built on the footsteps of pilgrims, and which is why pilgrimage towns are so important to our way of life. People from across India would gather at Somnath ji, at Kashi Vishwanath ji, at Rameshwaram ji, at Kedarnath, across India, and this is how the threads of India would get enmeshed with each other. So these pilgrimage towns were critical culturally because they built the unity bottom up, not top down. Secondly, they were centers of excellence because they had educational institutions. You had so many other ways of revving up our culture out there. So if you attack these places, you destroyed much of our education infrastructure as well. Thirdly, they were centers of wealth as well. Because many traders would donate money to these temples. The temple would, and Sanjeev Sanyal, the brilliant economist and historian, has written on this, that our temples worked as banks. They would lend money to traders, which is why we were the greatest traders of the ancient world. That money would come back, and the temple then would use that for dharmic causes, free food, free education, famine relief, etc., right? So there was always a lot of wealth. When they attacked this place, they ended up destroying our economy as well, hurting our economy very badly as well. It was a tragedy of epic proportions, and not just Somnath ji temples across. You find across North India, Maharashtra upwards, you find very few ancient temples. To find really ancient temples, you have to go to South India. They were all destroyed by these invaders. But we are back. In fact, we are rebuilding them, and we are back.
In fact, K. Munshi, he mentioned that in 1947, when that effort to rebuild Somnath temple was happening, that for 800 years you haven't had a temple of this grandeur that they intend to rebuild the Somnath temple. As you very rightly point out, Amish, it's a place of education, learning, culture, history, and also economy. But was Somnath targeted only because it was a great place of economy, trading, the seafarers came there, or was it to destroy the Sanatan Dharma, where Mahmud of Ghazni attacked it, or when the Khiljis attacked it, or when Aurangzeb had it attacked? Was it to destroy just a place of economy, or was it to destroy the Sanatan Dharma, in your view?
Gaurav, there are some who claim that it was just about money. Money was involved, no doubt. But there are some who claim that it was only about money. That is not true. All you have to do is read the records that the invaders themselves left. You don't have to read records of our ancestors who were the ones suffering. The invaders themselves. In various texts, Tarikh-e-Farishte, various other texts, Mahmud Ghazni himself spoke of him being a Ghazi, of destroying temples as a service to his interpretation of his religion, and took on the title. There were various who took on the title But Shikan, including and across India. But was actually the Turkic word for idol, and it was derived from Buddha actually. The Turks used to be Buddhists. They converted to Islam quite late. So there was certainly a religious angle to it, and they themselves said it. One more point, Gaurav, that there were many among Somnath, many of the non-warriors, the traders, the common people, they had gone to the Ghazni army offering to give money. That please don't destroy the murti, it is precious to us, take all the money that you want. He refused. If it was just about money, he should have taken that money, right? They said they would continue to give tribute for years in the future, but he refused that. And in fact, I have written of that in my book as well. The Chola Tigers and Legend of Suhel, both of them are built around the vengeance that the Indians took after Somnath ji. So I mean, his motivations are clearly there in their own words.
And when this Swabhiman Parv is commemorated or observed or celebrated today, the message also very clearly is that Indians or the Sanatan Dharma followers or the sons and daughters of this soil, they did not take this lying down. We were not a defeated people. We fought back constantly, something that maybe a section of historians did not teach us, but we were constantly fighting back, weren't we, Amish?
Gaurav, we are the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive. The invaders who came here, primarily the Turks and then later the Europeans, they went to various other parts of the world. They destroyed the high point of Arab culture as well, the Mongols and the Turks. It was the Abbasid Arab Empire. They destroyed much of Eastern Europe. They attacked China. We're among the few pre-Bronze Age cultures that are still alive. The same invaders who destroyed civilizations across the world. Why is that? Because our ancestors were not weak or we need to know that they weren't weak or cowardly. They were the toughest buggers around. They're the only ones who kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. I've said this repeatedly. किसी ने हमारे संस्कृति को हमें खैरात में नहीं दी है. हमारे पूर्वजों ने लड़ के इसे बचाया है. अपना खून बहा के इसे बचाया है. We are descendants of among the bravest of the ancient people. We must remember that. And another point, Gaurav, that is very critical because at times this is used to create internal divisions today. The same historians, they don't call the British colonial rule the Christian invasion. They call the Turkic colonial rule the Islamic invasion. They try to create confusion that the foreign Turks who attacked us, and they're trying to confuse them with Indian Muslims. And we must differentiate between that. This was not a Hindu-Muslim fight. This was an Indian foreigner fight. Those were foreigners. They were Turks. Our ancestors were very clear. Chhatrapati Shivaji used to refer to them as Turukcha, which is Sanskrit for Turks, as did Krishnadev Raya. They were foreigners, and we are descendants of among the toughest of the ancient peoples. We should be proud of who we are. Our back should be straight. Our head should be held high.
The fact that we're able to follow our religion and our way of life today is because of those sacrifices that were made. And Amish, stay with me. These are live images that have just come in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi for that roadshow. For a moment, I want to go full frame on this. Take a look at the Damrus at the Prime Minister, flanked by the Chief Minister of Gujarat and the Home Minister of Gujarat. This is the Swabhiman Yatra, the Swabhiman Parv. The horses are all ready. Remember, we Bharatis or the Bharatvasis are all a martial race. We fought, every one of us. It's not either the Sikhs or the Jats or the Marathas or some. Every Indian, irrespective, Amish, of his caste, creed, sect, sex, religion, every Indian fought for Bharatvarsh, and that's a message that some historians didn't want us to have, Amish.
I think. Hello. Sorry. Yeah. No. I think there are various attempts that were made to divide our land. First, an attempt to show that India didn't exist as a nation before the British, which is actually not true. I've spoken of this often earlier. The concept, the cultural unity of India certainly existed in ancient times. The Vishnu Puran says, Uttaram yat samudrasya himadrish chaiva dakshinam varsham tada bharatam nama bharti yatra santatihi. That north of the ocean and south of the Himalaya lies the nation of Bharat, and there live the descendants of Bharat. The Vishnu Puran is at least 2,500 years old. So we were a nation. And on the bravery of our ancestors, there is no doubt. They were among the bravest people around. But Gaurav, the sad truth that we must acknowledge also is there was a lack of unity among our ancestors. There are many good things that we can learn from our ancestors, but there are some mistakes that they made which we should also learn from. Regrettably, there was a significant lack of unity. We never had a shortage of traitors. How do we ensure that we don't repeat those mistakes? of our ancestors.
And as we look at these images, Amish, of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on that Vijay Rath, the Swabhiman Rath, where he's, waving to thousands and thousands of people on either side of the road, the Damru that you hear, the Shanknath that you hear. What's that message, Amish?
That Lord Shiva is eternal. For those of us who are Shaivites, the sound of the Damru is very rousing. It's like a call from our Mahadev. Wonderful to hear it. And Lord Shiva doesn't differentiate among anyone, high born, low born, whatever community you're from, whatever language you speak, male, female, transgender. He doesn't differentiate at all. Come to him and he will, and be good, you do good karma and he will bless you. And that is, that is my prayer for today, all of us Indians. I think it's a wonderful time to be an Indian. We are perhaps among the best time in the last many centuries to be an Indian. Our country, our motherland is on the rise once again, and it is critical that all of us Indians remain united at this very critical moment. If Mother India prospers, all of us will prosper. And if Mother India doesn't do well, there won't be one group which will do well. It doesn't work that way. We must be united.
That's a very significant point you make there, that in the past, while we were all brave, one thing that invaders were able to defeat us at times, despite the resistance, was the fact that we were not united. If Indians stand united in the face of what adversaries are doing, and even today, the manner in which you have adversaries either on your northern borders, on your western borders, those in an ecosystem in the west that may try to destabilize you, if we stand united, Amish, they will fail. But Amish, describe to me the emotions of the sea of saffron that we see at Somnath Ji today, on horseback, on either side of the road. Mandir mein ghante, the Shanknath, the Damru, the Dhol and the Nagadas, Amish.
Gaurav, the Hindu way of life is a life of public celebration, is a life of spectacle. We love our festivals, and particularly those of us who are Shaivites. We enjoy music, we enjoy dance. That is what our Lord was like. Saffron is a sacred color, the color of purity, the color of Agni, and the color of, frankly, detachment as well, which is why many monks wore saffron. So those who work for the greater
good. Prime Minister has just picked up a Damru in his hand. In fact, he's picked up two. I want to go to these images full frame. Listen in to the Prime Minister, because he's also soaking in the emotion and the spirit. Listen in. Okay, as you look at these images of the Prime Minister there, the security detail also can be seen behind him, but he has a Damru in both his hands, Amish. He's soaking in the moment. A sea of saffron is all that you see either side, and he has a Damru in both his hands. the significance of this moment, he's okay. Harsh Sanghvi, the Home Minister, with him, the Bhupendra Patel, the Chief Minister, also with him, but he's actually enjoying every moment of this, Amish.
Gaurav, as any Shaivite would, and the sound of the damru makes me think of a shlok that we Shaivites follow. Yadyat karma karomi tatad agilam shambho tavaradhanam. That every act of mine, every karma of mine, my Lord Shambho, my Lord Shiva, is a prayer in your honor. And actually, you could say Honorable Prime Minister Modi do that with the damru, a prayer in Lord Shiva's honor.
And this is a message, now that the entire country is watching this, people across the world watching this, there is a message that's going out, that message of sacrifice, that message of resilience, and the fact that we are able to rise once again, you're carrying that message to your future generations.
Absolutely. Our younger generation should know and remember that they are not descendants of defeated people. Yes, foreigners ruled us for 1,000 years, but those same foreigners wiped out practically every other ancient culture. What you saw in the last 1,000 years was not 1,000 years of defeat. It was 1,000 years of the greatest resistance in human history. No other group of indigenous people, nobody has fought so long and so hard to protect their culture. Nobody except us. We are descendants of truly tough people, and our younger generation should know that. They have to be worthy of that. All of us Indians have to be worthy of the sacrifices and blood of our ancestors.
Because that message of, for example, Raja Hamir Singh Gohel in this instance, that with whatever they had, they fought. Or the story of the priest of the head priest of the Somnath temple, who actually hugged the shivling even as it was being desecrated and destroyed. That's the sacrifice all of us, or all of our ancestors made for us to follow our way of life, Amish.
You're right, Gaurav, that is shown. And in fact, that in my research, that had touched me so deeply, I actually put that scene on the cover of my book. In the cover of my Tura Tigers, if you look closely out here, there is someone holding the shivling and the Turk behind about to kill him. And essentially that Pandit saying that if you go to the shivling, you'll have to go through me. That was the bravery of our ancestors.
And every generation has made that supreme sacrifice to ensure that you and I and our future generations are able to follow our way of life in our land, in the dharma that originated in this land. But this Dwadash Jyotirling Stotram that places Somnath amongst the first of the 12 Jyotirling or the 12 Jyotirling, spiritually speaking, the significance of Somnath being first of the 12, what does that signify? And in Gujarat, does it signify any kind of primacy in the sacred geography and history?
There are various legends around Somnathji, Gaurav. One is that Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati were married there. That is one legend. Yeah. There is another legend that when the moon god Somdev had been cursed by his father-in-law that he would wane. Then Lord Shiva had blessed him at this place so that he would wax and rise once again. So there are various legends around Somnathji, and yes, among them are a belief among many Shaivites that this is the first of the Jyotirlingas. The beauty of the Indian way is there can be multiple belief systems, some at times different to each other, but we allow multiple truths to respectfully coexist with each other. I had prayed at Somnathji many times, and for any Shaivite and indeed for any Hindu or any Indian, I think this would be one of the most powerful pilgrimage spots anywhere in our great land.
And the Prime Minister's special attachment, I've reported on the Prime Minister at the Somnath temple, at the Kedarnath Dham, at Pashupatinath temple. there is a special connect, it seems. And just on the 9th of January, just 2 days ago, the Prime Minister wrote, Bhagwan Shri Somnath सृष्टि के कण कण में विराजते हैं, उनकी अखंड आस्था अनंत काल से निरंतर प्रवाहित हो रही है, वे सदैव भारत की आध्यात्मिक ऊर्जा के प्रतीक रहेंगे. This in a way, Amish, shows the Prime Minister's special connect when he says सोमनाथ स्वाभिमान पर्व हमारी आध्यात्मिक परंपरा का एक सशक्त प्रतीक है. Amish,
Lord Shiva, I mean, there's this lovely line that we say in my native Varanasi as well, my father's native Varanasi, Kankar Kankar mein Shankar. This is a sacred land, it's a sacred geography, our motherland, our great mother India. And anyone who lives on this land, anyone who has the soil of Mother India in their genes is one of us, carries the spiritual, emotional and patriotic fervor of our land within themselves, and that is the attitude that all of us must have. And in terms of your comment on the Honorable Prime Minister's attachment to Somnath Ji, from what I'm aware, the only temple trust that he's a chairman of is actually Somnath Ji. It shows his particular attachment to Somnath Ji and to Lord Shiva, which does not mean that I'm sure that he respects and worships all other gods and goddesses of our tradition, but it shows the attachment that there is to Somnath Ji.
Joining me here on this India Today special broadcast, Amish, many thanks. I would love to carry on this conversation as much as possible. It's great talking to you. I, for a moment, also want to now come back to these images of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the Somnath temple complex. Right now, the Prime Minister is on that Swabhiman Yatra. The aim is to tell future generations about the sacrifices made. The Prime Minister wrote, Bhagwan Shri Somnath सृष्टि के कण कण में विराजते हैं. Lord Somnath, Lord Shiv is everywhere. उनकी अखंड आस्था निरंतर काल से निरंतर प्रवाहित हो रही है. People have prayed to Lord Shiv from time immemorial until eternity. वे सदैव भारत की आध्यात्मिक ऊर्जा के प्रतीक रहेंगे. He will forever symbolize the spiritual conscience of our country, of our people. सोमनाथ स्वाभिमान पर्व हमारी आध्यात्मिक परंपरा का एक सशक्त प्रतीक है. This is very powerful symbolism of Indian spirituality that you see on your television screen. The Prime Minister is writing about it. Look at the numbers on either side of the road in Gujarat. People on rooftop, some clinging onto trees to get a glimpse of the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister has a damru in his hand. That's the message that the Prime Minister is sending across to the entire country and perhaps the world to know about India's resilience and India's resurgence. I want to bring in Piyush. Piyush, you're on ground. Tell us about the excitement. Tell us about what you witness and the Swabhiman Parv, the braves that the Prime Minister is also going to highlight, the valor of our braves.
Well, Gaurav, we are now already seeing the excitement among the people, and all of them are seen chanting Har Har Mahadev, Jai Shivaji, and they are the people of Somnath, and they are the one who have been putting their best to carry forward the legacy of thousands of people who have laid down their life for the protection of Somnath temple. Let me try to get a word from them, as many of them are also, are holding seen the portrait of PM Narendra Modi. कहाँ से आए हैं आप लोग? और आज तो स्वाभिमान पर्व भी मनाया जा रहा है सोमनाथ के अंदर.
हम लोग गुजरात गिर सोमनाथ वेरावल से ही है और हमारा जन्म ही यहीं पे हुआ है. और आज हम लोग देख रहे हैं सब कि एक भारत एक हिंदू राष्ट्र की तरफ बढ़ रहा है और शुरुआत कहीं ना कहीं अयोध्या की सोमनाथ से हुई है और हिंदू राष्ट्र की भी शुरुआत सोमनाथ से ही होगी. और साथ में हम लोग देख रही है हजारों वर्षों के बाद भी आक्रांता की हजारों कोशिश के बाद भी आज भी हमारा सोमनाथ महादेव पवित्र भूमि पे शिखर के चढ़ते हुए ऊपर चढ़ रहा है।
कैसा लगा आपको जब प्रधानमंत्री जी को आपने देखा, हाथ में डमरू था उनका, जब वो यहाँ पर एंट्री किए, क्या मैसेज आपको लगता है देश भर में गया हो?
देश भर में वैसे तो महादेव का दमड़ू बजा रहे थे और कहीं पे वो जो आक्रांताओं थे वो दम महादेव का वो दमड़ू बजाते थे और वो नाच रहे थे। उनकी कब्र में जो सोमनाथ को जो तोड़ने आए थे, जो गजनवी, जो अलाउद्दीन खिलजी वगैरह सब लोग मुस्लिम आक्रांताओं थे, वो लोग जो तोड़ के आए थे, वो लोग की कब्र तो मिट गई है, लेकिन हमारा सोमनाथ यहाँ पे उसी की ताकत से अड़िखम खड़ा है। और हमने आज महादेव नरेंद्र मोदी जी निकले तो हमको भी लगा कि पिछले महापुरुषों जो थे, जो गुरु गोविंद सिंह थे, जो यहाँ के जो जिन्होंने धड़ कटा के लड़े थे, वो वैसे वीर हमीर जी गोहिल, वीर बेगड़ा जी, वीर महाराणा प्रताप, शिवाजी महाराज, गुरु गोविंद सिंह, वैसे अनेकों हिंदू योद्धाओं थे। ऐसे हमने उसको तो नहीं देखा, लेकिन नरेंद्र मोदी जी को देख के हमको ऐसी अनुभूति हुई कि हमने महापुरुषों के दर्शन कर लिए। और ये सोमनाथ स्वाभिमान पर्व तो है ही, लेकिन हमारा सबसे बड़ा स्वाभिमान वही है कि हमारी इस पवित्र भूमि में हमारा जन्म हुआ। उससे महादेव से प्रार्थना करते हैं कि इस प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी नरेंद्र मोदी जी की ऊर्जा ऐसी ही रखे और नकारात्मक से लड़ने की शक्ति महादेव दे।
जी आप भी यहीं के सोमनाथ के आप कैसे महसूस कर रहे हैं? सोमनाथ पर्व मन रहा है, अच्छा स्वर्ग ऐसा लग रहा है।
मोदी है तो मुमकिन है, मोदी है तो मुमकिन है।
कैसे, क्या मुमकिन आपको लगता है, क्या हो?
मोदी पीएम है तो मुमकिन है।
जी जी जी।
हिंदू राष्ट्र कितने गजनी आए, कितने गए, विध्वंस वैभव की गाथा अभी नहीं रुकी। धर्म की तब भी जय थी, धर्म की आज भी जय है।
धर्म की तब भी जय थी, धर्म की आज भी जय है, and that's the message which we are saying, that India is now moving towards becoming the Hindu Rashtra. That's what the people here are talking about, and they are also thankful for
Stay
the
with
people
me.
in Modi.
You know, the history and the culture of this land, I don't know how many people, of course their people know that each time that the flag goes up at the Somnath temple and it has a dhwaj, dand, and a flag that goes up. Before that flag is hoisted at the Somnath temple, it's placed at the memorial of Raja Hamir Singh Gohel, symbolically. And that's a tradition that's always followed. What message does that send out? That the Somnath Temple Trust, the Prime Minister incidentally is the chairman of the Somnath Temple Trust, but since this temple was rebuilt in 1951, the effort has been to recognize the supreme sacrifice made by the sons and daughters of this soil for the protection of the Sanatan Dharma, for the protection of the Indian way of life. And that is why that temple is placed there. Is that ritual still happening there, Piyush? The flag at the temple is always put at the memorial first as a mark of respect and then hoisted and then unfurled?
Well, that happens every day, Gaurav. That's what the people in Somnath have told us. Right in front of the entry gate also of Somnath, we have the huge pratima of the Rajput kings who have laid down their lives for the protection of Somnath temple. And remember that today, as the culmination of Somnath Swabhiman Parv takes place, this also reminds us about the multiple attacks which Somnath has faced in the last 1,000 years. But every time when invaders tried to attack, the Somnath stood much stronger. It began with the attack on 11th January 1026, and Prime Minister in his blog has also mentioned that in the last 1,000 years, what has happened somewhere talks about the faith, resilience, the cultural heritage, the civilization which has continued, in these years. People have every time given back to the invaders, and the intention of invaders has always been demolition, not devotion, and that's why the Somnath has been attacked multiple times. They always wanted to loot, but the people have every time given them back. I was also talking to a few people who are local from Somnath. They are telling me that the invaders, the identity of invaders is nowhere to be seen, but Somnath stands strong. Somnath is standing there with all its might, with all the faith, resilience, and telling the story of the fights those were fought by great Rajput leaders to ensure that the integrity and the entire faith of people is intact in the Somnath temple.
And when you look at the history from the first invasion that took place in 1026 by Mahmud of Ghazni to subsequent invasions that took place, whether it was the general of Alauddin Khilji or the Sultanate of Gujarat, Muzaffar Shah or Mahmud Begra, or Aurangzeb in 1669, where he ordered the demolition of the temple, or in 1706, just 1 year before his death in 1707, when Aurangzeb actually wanted and ordered that the temple be demolished completely. This wasn't about economy. This very clearly was not about economy, because when you look at that Farman of Aurangzeb of 1669, it wasn't just destruction of Somnath, it was destruction of Kashi Vishwanath temple. It was destruction of the Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi in Mathura. And remember in 1526 when Babur invaded, and subsequently in 1528, you've had a series of demolitions that have taken place, whether it is at Sambal or at Ayodhya or at so many other places across the length and breadth of our country. So were they only ransacking centers of economy or destroying cultural and seats of learning, or were they always also trying to destroy the Sanatan Dharma in this country, because they wanted to call themselves the Ghazi, and so many of them prided themselves as being Buth Shikan, or the destroyers of idols. But then you see the worshippers, they still survive and flourish. Look at the fact that even today you have the Sanatan Dharma that continues to grow. The fact that devotion has conquered destruction. And that's the message that goes out when you look at these images. Prime Minister Narendra Modi made it very clear that this is the spirit of Indian resilience, or the resilience of the people of this land and their resurgence. Sai Swarupa Iyer is an author and commentator. She joins me on this broadcast. Sai Swarupa Iyer, as an Indian, your thoughts when you look at these images of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on that Swabhiman Parv, the beautiful Somnath temple in its full splendor and grandeur today. What are your thoughts on 1000 years that mark the first attack by Mahmud of Ghazni?
Yes, Namaste Gauravji. I think it's a feeling that every Indian who's culturally rooted should be waiting for, because it sends a message that attacks on Sanatan Dharma, especially an immortal shrine, immortal kshetra like Somnath, right? It's one of the first, not one of the, it's the first Jyotirlingas. When we, start remembering all the Jyotirlingas, all the 12 Jyotirlingas, it's the first one, and unfortunately the first one to get attacked also. I think this is a very crucial civilizational closure needed. Right? And
that's a very important point. So you're looking at this as a civilizational closure. Are you looking at this, as that message being sent out, that ultimately it's our resilience and our resurgence that comes out on top? Why were all these invaders and even if we were to talk about the Mughals targeting Somnath and Kashi Vishwanath and Mathura and so many other temples in our country? Was it just attacking a place of economy, a place of learning, or was it a place of worship that was specifically being targeted in your view, Sai Swarupa ji?
So a temple, kshetra is not just religious. It stands for all the purusharthas, Gauravji. So it holds together dharma. It is also, as you said, it's an economic center. Temple is an economic center. Temple is also a center of arts and other dharmic indulgences, and most importantly, it is the conduit to moksha, right? And for some reason, I think the invaders would have understood this crucial nature of a mandir, this crucial nature of punya kshetras, because every punya kshetra has its own way of bringing people together, may it be a festival like Mahakumbha, may it be other festivals or occasions, but every temple has a way of bringing the society, Hindu society, together. Right, so temple is a very crucial thing, and we have a lot of knowledge even in Telugu where they say a village is a village when there is a temple at the center of it. Right, so temple is that fulcrum that holds the Hindu society together. So I think they were basically targeting for the epicenter of Hinduism, except with the caveat that temples are not just man-made structures. Right, they hold divine energy, and that divine energy is going to prevail and strike back.
Very interesting. And the Prime Minister, look at how he connects, Sai Swarupa ji, how he connects it to what's happening even now. So, for example, this milestone in 2026 actually marks 75 years of the restoration of the temple, and it being the Pran Pratishtha that took place in 1951, May 1951, by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and K.M. Munshi. The effort that started in 1947. Sadly, we lost Sardar Patel by 1951. But the Prime Minister recalled in May 1951, the restored temple was inaugurated in the presence of then President Dr. Rajendra Prasad. The responsibility of rebuilding Somnath after independence was shouldered by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, whose 1947 Diwali visit, November 1947, led to the decision to rebuild the temple at the same location. Now, why would Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, in your view, insist that this temple has to be rebuilt in that location, Sai Swarupa ji?
Actually, Somnath is a Jyotirlinga which has been attacked multiple times. I know people know more about Muhammad Ghaznavi, but I think there is Khilji king also who attacked it, and many more in after him, and finally Aurangzeb. After Aurangzeb's attack, I think it was Ahalya Bai Holkar, who was not exactly connected to the province, but she put her own funds to try and renovate the temple. Though she could not get exactly the same spot, she kept the memory alive with another structure, I think quite close by. And this itself should tell us how important Indian rulers considered the Punya Kshetra, which wasn't exactly in their kingdom, right? Within the borders of their kingdom. So they realize the importance of each Tirtha Sthala, each Jyotirlinga, each Shakti Pitha, or whatever it may be, as holding centers of Hinduism, which is why they put their everything to try and renovate. Ahalya Bai Holkar deserves a special mention here, but unfortunately she could not get the original spot, and that is exactly what Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji understood, that there is the spot, the original spot was what was chosen by the deity. It was chosen by Lord Shiva to manifest, and it has to be. Exactly.
Absolutely. It's a Swayambhu Jyotirling, not man-made. It's eternal. It emerged. But what an important point you make about Mata Ahilya Bai Holkar, the brave, Maratha queen. It wasn't just Somnath, but also Kashi Vishwanath. And as you very rightly pointed out, she used her own funds. And she made so much effort to encourage the Sanatan Dharma, to make dharmshalas for pilgrims, to ensure that when the morale was down, when the cruelty of the invaders and their descendants was at its peak, the morale must be kept up. So even in Kashi Vishwanath, she found a spot as close to the Jyotirling as she could to build the Kashi Vishwanath temple. Like at Somnath, she built a temple so that faith remains eternal. It does. And in fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he paid tributes to Mata Ahilya Bai Holkar, to Queen Ahilya Bai Holkar, for restoring several temples, including Somnath and Kashi Vishwanath. In fact, the Prime Minister also recalled Swami Vivekananda's visit to Somnath in the 1890s and cited his 1897 Chennai lecture, where Swami Vivekananda said temples like Somnath reveal more about India's history and spirit than volumes of books. And Sai Swarupa ji, our temples spoke of our way of life, because temples weren't just places of worship. They did a lot of charity, education, culture, dance, drama, spirit, and encouraging society to move forward.
So basically,
This is a
temple is
famous-
like, that divine fulcrum, right? Like creation emerges from the Brahmanda and, merges with it. It's like, I think temple is like that. Civilization emerges from it and again collects back, gathers back around it.
As the Prime Minister is also, paying his respects to the brave warriors who made the supreme sacrifice of their lives. So, for example, Raja Hamir Singh Gohel, not many big historians write about him, but each time you travel to Gujarat, to Saurashtra, people talk about his courage, his sacrifice. Each time you go there, they talk about, the Chalukya kings, they talk about other kings who helped rebuild that temple. Tell us more about why remembering those braves are so important, Sai Swarupa ji.
So remembering, each, warrior, each ruler, may it be Mata Halyabai Holkar, may it be Hamir Singh, I think it's very necessary for us, because they were the bulwark who stood between our civilization and total annihilation of the civilization, right? They were the ones who did not bow down. They were the ones who fought back.
Those images right now, this is the image of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Raja Hamir Singh Gohel's memorial.
अपना बलिदान दिया, सर्वस्व जिन्होंने निछावर कर दिया, आज उन्हीं को शौर्य यात्रा के जरिए नमन किया जा रहा है। उन्हें श्रद्धांजलि भी हम दे रहे हैं। साथ ही साथ स्वाभिमान पर्व एक उत्सव के रूप में भी हम देख सकते हैं। पूरा देश आज स्वाभिमान पर्व मना रहा है। सोमनाथ की ये तस्वीरें आप देख सकते हैं। इस तरीके से प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी भी तमाम महान योद्धाओं को उन्होंने नमन किया। साथ ही साथ अब से कुछ देर बाद मंदिर प्रांगण में पहुंचेंगे, जहां पर पूजा अर्चना भी करेंगे। और उससे पहले लगातार तस्वीरों में आप देख पा रहे हैं इस भव्य शौर्य यात्रा को।
Hamir Singh Gohel of Gujarat, in fact, of Saurashtra. When you go to the Somnath temple, you notice that the flag at the Somnath temple is first placed at this memorial. The Prime Minister paying his respects to the brave sons and daughters of the soil who made the supreme sacrifice of their lives, one invasion after the other. Whether it was Mahmud of Ghazni who invaded in 1026, or you had Mahmud Begra, or you had Alaf Khan, that general of Alauddin Khilji, who invaded the Somnath temple. The invasions were almost relentless. And that is now a frontal view, the saffron flag. And the brave king is believed to have said that as long as a single Hindu is alive, nobody can destroy the Somnath temple. That is that big message. Historians will tell you about the invaders, and certain historians in our country, they'll glorify invaders. They will not tell you about the brave sons and daughters of this soil who constantly fought for this land, for what is sacred to the people of this land, their faith, their belief, their way of life. And this is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now doing, worshipping the sons and daughters of this soil. Sai Swarupa ji, if we are able to follow our culture, our religion, our way of life, and pray at temples like Somnath, like Kashi Vishwanath, like Ayodhya, it's because of these brave sons and daughters of the soil. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Maharana Pratap, Raja Hamir Singh Gohel, and so many others who constantly resisted invaders and their descendants.
Exactly. So it is very, very important for each pilgrim to remember the historical, sacrifices that have been made so that we continue to keep our faith, we continue to follow our culture. I think with growing prosperity, there is also a risk of, taking things for granted, and that should be avoided at all costs, which is why these memorials serve a very crucial purpose of connecting us. There is a divine connection, yes, definitely, but there is also a historical civilizational connection which tells me my ancestors fought for this, my ancestors bled for this, and there should be something which I should do so that my descendants may also be proud of me. Right? I mean, that is the consciousness that has to develop in each pilgrim that goes not just to Somnath, to any.
Yes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he reflected on the significance of the Somnath temple, he said, Somnath ji has the power to awaken the mind and soul. He wrote, while in the past, there were aggressions, they've now been reduced to being footnotes in history. The Prime Minister has described the Somnath temple as a song of hope. Teachings that hate and fanaticism, they may temporarily destroy, but faith and conviction create for eternity. And Sai Swarupa ji, that's the message that goes out today.
Definitely, that is the much needed message that needs to go to every section of our country, Gaurav ji, because one thing is, yes, as much as we are on the spiritual side of things, and of course there is also an Omkara chanting going on the last 3 days, and Omkara itself stands for that whole balance between the material and spiritual. There is a progress made on the spiritual side, as you rightly pointed out. Somnath has the power to influence the mind and heart and soul, because basically moon, according to Jyotisha, I'm not an expert in Jyotisha, but moon is the lord of mind, and every mental condition, everything is ruled over by the moon, and here Lord Shiva protects the moon. So that's exactly where I think Lord Shiva is there. He has manifested to enable his devotees to attain that control over mind.
And that's very significant. That's very important, because it's always mind over matter. If you are very strong mentally, emotionally, then you're able to conquer any adversity, and adversity comes in your life and mine. In everybody's life, there's always a challenge. That's the message that Bhagwan Shiv has always given out. The Prime Minister, of course, has linked heritage to the present. The Prime Minister said the world looks at India with hope and with optimism. The world is eager to invest in India, and the Prime Minister is encouraging the youth to innovate. He's asking the youth to innovate, to stay a step ahead. He's spoken of course, Indian art, Indian culture, Indian music, festivals, yoga, for example, going global. Ayurveda, that's having a major impact in different parts of the world. There are Western countries that talk about allopathy, yes, but they're also looking at Ayurveda for holistic healing. In a way, Sai Swarupa ji, this is a resurgence of the Indian culture, of the Indian way of life, and the Indian way of life, the effort is to make it go global. But, my point to you is, there are many who argue, when they look at the Sea of Saffron and they say, Bharat is now becoming like Hindu Pakistan. That criticism that you're becoming like Hindu Pakistan, that is so not true, and that is so shallow and frothy, because they do not understand Bharat. You saw that drone show. You saw how we're doing so well in science and technology and in mathematics and in economy and in our culture and our civilization. That's the difference that these people either don't understand or they choose not to understand.
There's a part of me which believes that it's a choice not to understand things, because when you face the truth, you do realize that how, I mean, we spoke about temples right now. Temples were also centers of science and technology. Temple itself, look at the architecture, the current structure is built, as inspired by the Chalukyan, typical Chalukyan architecture with that tall tower, very imposing and impressive, the image that will stay with you long after, one leaves Somnath. So that itself is a result of scientific and technological progress that our ancestors achieved. So, firstly, Hinduism is one religion, one civilization that does not separate religion from science, like most of the, Western approach is. There you have religion and science fighting at each other at every nook and corner. So what happened with Galileo, for instance, right? The way scientists were persecuted by the religious segment or religious leadership there in the West, but here...
Don't, give me a moment. I have breaking news coming in, and it's a very important story. I want our viewers to look at this story. Sai Swarupa ji, give me a moment. This is again the Sanatan way of life. This is again the Sanatan culture. Daya dharmasya moolam. Daya is at the center. I want to show you images of an ambulance. Just watch those images. So when this cavalcade was going, an ambulance had to be sent. So the crowds just moved to a side to permit. So there was a sea of devotees at the Shaurya Yatra, but the devotees just moved aside. Watch. Just as the ambulance came, the devotees moved aside and made way for the ambulance instantly. Nothing is more important than saving a precious life, showing compassion in the sea of devotion, because the Sanatan Dharma is all about giving another lease of life, helping and not taking away anybody's life to all those invaders did when they attacked our country and tried to take away our way of life. And that is why perhaps the Prime Minister also, he spoke of भगवान श्री सोमनाथ सृष्टि के कण कण में विराजते हैं. उनकी अखंड आस्था अनंत काल से निरंतर प्रवाहित हो रही है. So the crowds moved aside for the ambulance to pass. Sai Swarupa ji, anybody may be a VIP, crowds may be big, but to give the right of way to ambulance is the most important thing. And if I can see these images correctly, that's the Home Minister of the state who's actually stepped out to help young Home Minister of the state, Harsh Sanghvi. If I saw those images correctly, perhaps we'll come back to those images in just a moment. But Sai Swarupa ji, that just shows what the Sanatan culture is all about.
Yes, exactly. The compassion of the devotees, and also I think I see the visuals of security personnel moving around, making way. I think the authorities also have to be complimented for the readiness, and because it's about vision. Conducting an event of this magnitude also needs a vision and preparedness to handle any contingencies, and I guess they have planned it well, and I hope whatever reason the ambulance is being called for, the danger is averted soon, whatever happened. But yes, Daya dharma bina satkarma nahi is what they say. All the punya karyas that we do, if they lack compassion, they become ineffective. Right? So that is what we are seeing now there is that people are conscious of the need for compassion, need for discipline, need for... this is the true coming together.
Yes. And in a moment, we'll just link up with Piyush Mishra on ground. Sai Swarupa ji, stay with me. And I think that is the Home Minister of the state, Harsh Sanghvi. Young Home Minister has an eye for detail. He does spend a lot of time on ground zero, meticulously, and for him, it doesn't make a difference whether he's interacting with the Commissioner of Police or the Constable on ground. He ensures that the message is conveyed. And when people, whether it's the security forces or the police, when they see action on ground and they see the leader on ground themselves, they ensure that they deliver. So the Prime Minister currently is as part of this Swabhiman Yatra. The Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, on a visit to Junagadh on Deepavali, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel made it very clear that Somnath Temple will be rebuilt. He spoke of the resilience and the resurgence and the self-confidence. That for 1,000 years if people think, and there were many who said, we've ruled this country over 800 years or 1,000 years or words to that effect. Everyone must know that law will apply equally to all, and that the self-confidence of the people has to be brought up so that they understand that this was a story of constant resistance to invaders. It's not as if India did not resist the invasion of Mahmud of Ghazni or Muhammad of Ghori, and other invaders who attacked one after the other, or Alauddin Khilji's General Alaf Khan, or Mahmud Begra, or Muzaffar Shah, or ultimately Aurangzeb in 1669 when he issued that farman to demolish the Kashi Vishwanath temple, or the Sri Krishna Janmabhoomi at Mathura, or the Somnath temple. The sons and daughters of the soil constantly resisted. So if they could not get back that place right then, they built a temple close to it, as close to it as possible, like in Ayodhya. Even the Supreme Court marked that Hindus constantly prayed at that place, because that's what our ancestors had told us. This is where Lord Ram was born. This is where the Somnath Jyotirling is. This is where Kashi Vishwanath temple is. This is where Yogeshwar Sri Krishna was born, in Mathura. So every place of civilizational worship, invaders may have succeeded, or their descendants may have succeeded in destroying our places of worship temporarily. India, the moment there was an opportunity, prayed as close to it as possible with that eternal hope. One day we'll get that place back. So you've got it back in Ayodhya, you got it back in Somnath. Legal efforts are on to get it back both in Mathura and Kashi, and that also shows you that even 80 years after independence and 1,000 years of invasion, you're still waiting, you're still praying, you're still taking the legal route to get it back. And that is how you live in harmony. That is what the Sanatan Dharma is. Piyush Mishra now joins me. Piyush, the Prime Minister, I believe, is now at the historic Somnath Temple, and he's prayed and paid tribute to all the braves en route.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. What we are now learning is that Prime Minister is inside the temple and he is taking part in the special prayers. So those are underway there at Somnath temple. Remember that the Somnath Swabhiman Parv is being celebrated in Somnath, which is going to culminate today with the final address of PM Narendra.
Token the sight and sound of the temple
to the people of Somnath. Well, right now he's inside the temple, and we are hearing that he's also taking part in the special prayers.
So the Prime Minister prays to Nandi, and this again is a tradition that first you pray to Nandi. Whatever you may want, you tell Nandi, because Nandi, the ride of Bhagwan Shiv, then carries your message to Bhagwan Shiv. So watch this image of the Prime Minister entering the Somnath temple. It's a beautiful temple. It's in 3 parts. This temple, there is a magnificent shikhar there, you see, and the Dhwaj Dand on top of that. If you notice the temple, it's in 3 different parts. There's the Garbhgriha, there's the Sabha Mandap and the Nritya Mandap. In 3 parts of this temple, you hear the damrus as the Prime Minister is welcomed inside the temple amidst chants of Om Namah Shivaya. The Swasti Mantra, the Prime Minister prays to Lord Nandi, the ride of Bhagwan Shiv. This is truly historic. This temple is at the confluence of Kapila, Hiran and Saraswati river. It's considered extremely holy. Built over centuries, destroyed, desecrated repeatedly, rebuilt in 1947, Pran Pratishtha in 1951.
Tekhagbhusatrayo janeva tannmasi Om Namah Shambhavaya Chamayo Bhavaya Chanamah Shankaraya Chamayaskaraya Chanamah Shiva Yacha Shivataraya Cha Sadyo Jatam Prapadyami Sadyo Jataya Vai Namo Namah Om Panchanadyah Saraswati Mapiyanti Sasrotasa Kahtani Khangina Tekhagbhusatrayo janeva tannmasi Om Namah Shambhavaya Chamayo Bhavaya Chanamah Shankaraya Chamayaskaraya Chanamah Shiva Yacha Shivataraya Cha Sadyo Jatam Prapadyami Sadyo Jataya Vai Namo Namah Om Panchanadyah Saraswati Mapiyanti Sasrotasa
Abhishek at the Somnath temple. And when you talk to priests, they tell you Bhagwan Shiv is the easiest to please. All it takes is the holy water, the Panchamrit or Ganga Jal or water from the Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, whichever river's holy water you get. All it takes is Bel Patra and holy water to make Bhagwan Shiv happy. And he'll bless you, he'll protect you, he'll solve your troubles. In fact, give you the strength to soldier on, to carry on. Lord Shiva, the destroyer of evil. The images that you see on your television screen, as the Prime Minister wrote in his blog, this is 1,000 years of that first attack that took place in 1026. He recalled the invasion of Mahmud of Ghazni, and there the Swasti Mantra.
Om Bhadrang Karnebhi Sringaye Tushtuvaghunshastanu Virvyase Mahi Devahi Tanjadayuho Shataminnu Sharado Anti Deva Jatra Nachakara Jarashantanu Namma Putraso Jatra Pitaro Bhavanti Mano Madhyari Khata Yurganto Aditirdyauraditirantarikshamaditir Mata sa pita sa putra Vishve Deva Om Swasti na Indro Vriddasrava Swasti na Pukha Vishwaveda
So the Tripund is meant to calm you down. Chandan is it has a cooling effect, a calming effect. They say it pleases Lord Shiv. This entire effort is to tell future generations about the sacrifices that were made in the past. it's a very important milestone because remember 2026 also marks 75 years of the restoration of the temple when it was opened for devotees in 1951, and the effort that was made by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, by K. Munshi, and the fact that President Dr. Rajendra Prasad, then President, he went despite the objection or opposition by then Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. It was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel who insisted on Diwali of 1947 that a temple will be built. Though a cabinet approval was given, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he says that then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was not very supportive of associating top constitutional authorities with the reopening of the temple. And BJP MP Sudhanshu Trivedi now joins me on this broadcast. Sudhanshu ji, welcome. When you look at these images, I noticed you'd also put out a message or a letter written by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to the Foreign Secretary, to High Commissioners and heads of missions overseas. Why did you bring up that letter now, sir?
Gaurav, it was not the issue of the letter, and it has nothing to do against the Congress party. Even in the Congress party, the leaders were very much in favor of restoration of Somnath temple. Sardar Patel was also the Congress leader. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was also the Congress leader. K.M. Munshi was also the Congress leader. And there were so many Congress leaders, Dr. Sampurnanand, C. Rajgopalachari, others who were in favor, Purushottam Das Tandon, who were in favor of restoring India's self-confidence, self-identity after independence. K.M. Munshi, in his book From Pilgrimage to Freedom, he has mentioned that there is no meaning of such independence which takes Gita from my hand. There is no meaning of that independence if it bars me, if it restricts me from restoring my temples and having worship in my temples. So it is up to the Congress party to decide whether they want to align with the nationalist legacy which Sardar Patel, K.M. Munshi, Sampurnanand, Rajendra Prasad ji, Purushottam Das Tandon has mentioned, or they continue to attach themselves with that legacy of Jawaharlal Nehru, regarding which J.K. Galbraith, who was an ambassador, US ambassador at the time, it is reported in a book that Nehru said to Galbraith, and Galbraith has also mentioned that you are talking to the last English ruler of this country. In Durga Das' book of Curzon to Nehru and thereafter, in September 1947, Gandhiji is asked why you have put Nehru over the Patel. So Gandhiji just amusingly on the lighter note said, because he is the only Englishman in our party. So you want to continue with the legacy of the British colonial hangover, or you want to come out of that? It is unfortunate that the country took around 75 years to come out of that. So
you think
what
the
Prime
country is
Minister is
completely
doing,
come out of?
when India is all set to emerge as a developed country.
Yes. Yes. No, complete your point, sir.
Can I complete?
Yes.
When India is already all set to attain the status of developed country by 2047, then what will the values which will inspire us? We will become a prosperous country like America, in which anybody will be going in the college and university and firing. Or we will become such a powerful that we will be able to capture any smaller country. Or we will become such a powerful country that we will be economically exploiting others. No. Hinduism, the Hindu Dharma and the Indian culture symbolizes that we will be able to put everybody together in this situation of clash of civilization. We will put coherence and restoration, and Somnath Swabhiman Parv symbolizes what Prime Minister has said, that new India is emerging, not to dominate the world, but to motivate.
Okay, but look at the difference from Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was not supportive of associating top constitutional authorities with a temple reopening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi right now performing the Jalabhishek at the temple. Is there a total shift in thinking, sir? Does that take away from what Pandit Nehru used to describe as secularism of the time, sir?
No, shift is very clear. The secularism, so-called secularism or the pseudo-secularism of Jawaharlal Nehru was that V.N. Gadgil, his own cabinet colleague, he has mentioned in his book, Government from Inside. He was upset that why Somnath should not be restored. And he has mentioned that as PWD minister, he has got repairing of so many dargahs and masjid on the government expenditure. And Nehru said it was secularism. If Nehruji was total secular, then what was the need of Muslim personal law board in this country? Then madarsa, then Hajj subsidy, then Waqf board, then triple talaq, then mehram, then halala. This is secularism. But as far as Hinduism is concerned, no, there is nothing to be there. And I would like to remind those who say that from the government exchequer it should not be built. You know, there was a famous shrine in Kashmir, Charare Sharif, which was burned by a terrorist Mast Gul in 1995. And then he managed to flee to Pakistan. Then who rebuilt that? By the government expenditure. Then central government has allocated 15 crore to rebuild what? Dargah, Charare Sharif. And now they try to give a sermon. So what Prime Minister has said, Nehru was controlling the colonial legacy and he has made India a partially Muslim country by constitution in the garb of pseudo-secularism. Now Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi is turning it into true secular country. Otherwise, I challenge my opponents. Can they name a single secular country in the world in which Sharia is having a constitutional sanction and triple talaq, mehram, halala, Hajj subsidy, Waqf board are also there. So that's why there is a huge shift now. India is realizing its identity and potential both in the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi.
Okay, you know, the Prime Minister mentioned that Dr. Rajendra Prasad stood firm despite objections that were raised, and the rest is history. But is there merit in Pandit Nehru, in your view, writing, for example, that, our missions overseas should not provide holy water from the Sindhu River for this ceremony, or they should not be seen to be associated in any way with the rebuilding of the Somnath temple?
That was nothing but a residual impact of the defeatist mindset. Because when Jawaharlal Nehru was saying this, still in 1951, you know, India's Air Force Chief was British. Till 1954, Gerard Gibbs was the last British Air Force Chief of India. And you know, the India's Naval Chief was also British. Till